Hi everyone, I'm Lorna from Thread and Yarn and welcome back to my channel, all about knitting, sewing, some natural dyeing coming up, and today I am going to be making a birthday dress for myself from this lovely fabric. So this video is going to be all about me making my birthday dress. So join me for this if you want a relatively chilled video. It's not a tutorial, just to have it on the background. Join me for a relaxed making of my birthday dress using this lovely fabric, and then I'll show you what it looks like in the end. It's been a busy few weeks. I haven't had time to post much or to make much really, but I've had plans in my head and they've been building even though I haven't been making. So I'm trying to whittle them down into some manageable ones. And one of the ones that I've wanted to work on for quite a while is a dress for my birthday. So it's my 32nd birthday soon, in a couple of weeks, in mid-July. And I've got a little group of friends coming over. We're going to knit and we're going to have some pizza and chill. I'm looking forward to it. I quite fancy making a summery dress. I like making a dress for my birthday each year. It feels like a little indulgence. Why not? It's your birthday. And I tend to wear them for occasion events afterwards, like some of the ones that I put in my video recently. Now, I wanted to do something a bit different. I often go for plain fabrics. They are almost always autumny coloured or green. This isn't super different because it is still autumn coloured, but it has a block print on it. I think it's really pretty. I've seen a lot of these hand block cotton prints recently, and I've used some for quilting and for making little bunting actually that I've hung up in my lounge. I'll post a picture. But I thought I'd make a dress with it, and I quite like red, especially for late summer. Although I think it does have quite a late summery vibe with the plants and the colour. I want it to be something that I can wear year round. I want it to be a pattern that I can layer. I want to be able to wear a t-shirt or a lightweight jumper underneath, or like a really chunky jumper on top. So I had to bear that in mind when thinking about a pattern. It's obviously got quite a directional print as well, so that was something to bear in mind. Didn't really want to cut it on the bias, so something cut on the straight grain, something that is good for layering. So I thought about it for a while. What I've decided on is a wrap dress. I think wrap dresses can look really great over the top of t-shirts and lightweight jumpers. I've made the by hand London Hannah dress before. Something about it just didn't really suit my shape. I tried to amend it. The neckline just ended up really sort of baggy on me. At the bodice I just couldn't quite get to fit. I'm sure a lot of that is user error, but I didn't really fancy cutting into this fabric and having something else that I found I didn't wear that much. But the one that really caught my eye was the Merchant & Mills Etta dress. It's quite different. Often wrap dresses are really figure hugging. They really cinch in at the waist. This one has got quite a relaxed fit, but it looks really classic in its lines. And I think it would be cool with this pattern. In fact, they've made it, one of their sample pieces is a black hand block printed fabric, and I think it looks really effective. So I thought in this red it would look nice, and it would definitely be something that I can layer up. I've got the Etta pattern, I got the PDF version, I got it printed out, and I'm going to cut it out in a minute and cut out this fabric. I'm going to try and take it slow, but I think it looks relatively simple. I'm going to aim to get it done over the next couple of days. So first things first, I need to cut out that pattern. I always cut it out rather than tracing it. I can't be bothered to trace it. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll cut into the fabric. Look at this fabric, so nice. There are 5 sheets to cut out for the Etta, so it's taken ages, but I've got Little Women on in the background. I always rewatch this every autumn and winter. I know it's not autumn yet, but I just can't wait. So I always order less fabric that a pattern asks for, because I think patterns always overstate it and there's always tons of waste. And I'm never caught out, but this time I'm massively caught out. I have nowhere near enough fabric, so I'm going to have to order a little bit more. So I'm going to be cutting it close to the wire with this dress. The skirt is massive. This is 1/2 of the front skirt. So it's going to be pretty gathered. Anyway, I'm going to start cutting this out. I've ordered the rest. Hopefully it turns up in time. What's a birthday sew without a bit of drama? So it's a little tricky to cut this neatly because it looks like the pattern isn't actually printed sort of on a straight line. So the bodice is lined in this, not the skirt because it's got lots of layers, but the bodice is, and I'm using this sort of hemp linen that I got from Merchant & Mills a while ago in this natural shade, which I think is going to be really pretty. It kind of matches the sapling print as well, so I think it's going to look really nice. So I'm just cutting that out now because I'm still waiting for the rest of the block print fabric to arrive. I managed to cut the bodice out of the fabric in the end, so it's just this one skirt piece, the back skirt, that I haven't been able to cut out yet. So I think I can get sewing, at least on the bodice, and while I wait for the fabric, so that's good. So I'm just putting some interfacing on the bodice. I'm quite glad that there's this robust amount of interfacing. I think it's going to strengthen the bodice quite a lot. I thought maybe my main fabric might be a bit lightweight for wearing year round, and I didn't want it to look too flimsy, so I'm really happy that the bodice is going to be lined and there's going to be this interfacing. So I've attached the side ties and I'm just starting to piece the bodice together. I'm really liking this fabric. I think it's going to be really effective. I had thought about lining it with the same fabric, obviously I didn't have enough, but I think this off-white matches the sapling colour perfectly, and I think actually if I'd worn something dark underneath as a lining, maybe it would have shown through a bit, but this is going to keep the sort of integrity of the colour of the print, and I think it's going to be really nice. I'm taking it really slow. I feel like sometimes the projects I end up rushing them just because I want them to be finished, and I really want the insides of this to be as beautiful as the out, and I want it to be something that I'll treasure and wear. So I just attached the bodice to outer, to the bodice lining. I really like the texture of it. It's this really natural hemp linen. Feels quite earthy and yummy. And so I've attached it and now I'm going to edge stitch it down. I've pressed the edges towards the lining and I've clipped the corners as I showed you and trimmed the seam allowance. I'm really enjoying taking my time over this and making sure each detail is lovely. When I stitched up the straps, one of the tension wasn't right on one of them and it had little bobbly stitches, and normally I'd just be like, oh, it's an inside strap, whatever. But I've unpicked it and I've done it again and I think it's all going to be really nice. Now I always look at the presser foot and not the needle when I'm doing edge stitching or top stitching or something like that. If you look at the needle going all over the place, it's so hard to focus. But I just pick a point on the foot and focus on that. Hello, so it's Sunday morning and I'm going to be making a bit more of my birthday dress today. I'm still waiting for the fabric to arrive, but I've managed to cut out everything apart from the back skirt. So I've been cracking on with the bodice. Yesterday I did a little bit which I showed you. I joined the bodice sections together and I started attaching these straps, the ties rather, and the lining. So I think it's looking nice. I really like this fabric and I love the sort of natural hemp linen lining. I think it's going to feel really nice. I'm happy as well because I've been taking my time over it. You can see the lining makes it look really neat. I did this edge stitching on the inside as well, which is what the pattern asks for. I don't know about you, but I often prefer a lining to a facing. Facings can be great, and in some situations I often like them in shirts and things like that, but when it comes to a dress, I much prefer having a lined section because I find the facing ends up like flapping around. Someone's like, oh, it's poking up out the back of your neck, or it pokes out around the armholes, and yeah, unless it's quite a big facing, I don't think I like it very much. So I'm happy that I've lined this and I'm gonna crack on. So next step is to join the underarm seam together. So this is right sides out at the moment, which isn't correct. So I need to turn it so it's right sides together again. And then I'm gonna stitch together the underarm seam. So that's the seam done. So because there are curves, I'm gonna clip some of the curves so that it helps ease it around the corner when I turn it right side out. So I did that on the last one as well. Like here, this is the underarm, for example. I don't go too close to the seam line, a bit closer than that maybe. And what you can also do is grade the seam allowance a bit to remove any bulk. So I might take off a bit of this one with the interfacing on it, with the lining. Right, so now I just need to turn it inside out. Well, right side out. Cool. Good, I remember to put all the saplings up the right way. Obviously I haven't pressed this or anything. I'm actually planning on wearing it in autumn and winter over this t-shirt. This is a Nico top. I'm not sure why I'm trying it on right now, to be honest. I haven't even done the side seams and haven't sorted out the main shape. I just wanted to make sure that the shoulders and the neckline felt good. And they do. So I think what I'm going to do is, I think the next step is to join the side seams, and I'm going to give it all a good press. And then I imagine it's onto pockets and the skirt. I think it looks cool with the black though. I think it'll look nice with the white t-shirt as well. All done on the side seam. It's looking good. We're having a nice slow snoozy Sunday here. So here's the bodice. It's come together pretty well. I've just given it a nice press. I'm glad I did the inside ties red actually. I think that's cool. That's a nice little contrast on the inside. Morning, so it's pretty rainy outside for a mid-July day. Not usually used to this weather around my birthday, but I actually quite like it. I like a moody day. My allotment's very happy with a lot of rain, so that's good. In exciting news, my extra fabric has arrived. Super speedy, thank you Cloth House. So now I can cut out the back skirt, and that was the last piece I think that I needed to cut out. So that's great. That means that I can put my dress together. So I finished the bodice the other day. Got it here. I gave it a good press. It's all put together with the lining, and I'm really happy with how it's looking. The edge stitching looks really neat. I'm glad I took the time. It looks lovely once pressed. So now I just need to attach the skirt. I started attaching the pockets to the front skirt the other day. Somehow I'd managed to cut 2 left panels for the front skirt. I don't know how, because normally I cut things like folded over so they're mirror images. But it was fine. All I did was trim off the little sort of pocket fly protrusion thing on one side and then recut it on the other. So I've lost like a centimetre from the width of one of the panels, but they're going to be so gathered I don't think you'll be able to tell. So I stitched down and I overlocked the edge of the pockets. And then I was just waiting for my fabric. So now that that's arrived, it means I can crack on. So I am going to do a little bit of my lunch break in a bit. And yeah, although I'm glad the bodice is lined because Saturday, when I'm going to wear the dress, it looks rainy and windy and a bit chilly. So not really the mid-summer I had in mind, but I think I was planning to layer it anyway. I might wear it with this little black t-shirt that I've got. It's a Nico top from Bodice patterns. So I think it'll look cool laid over that or laid over a little white t-shirt. Don't have a little white t-shirt yet, so I'd have to make one. Too many projects and not enough time. So we'll see how we do, but I'll at least get it over this black one. So I've attached one side of the front skirt to the back at the pocket join. And now I'm gonna start pinning the other. I quite like how they've done the pockets on the Etta dress, because often when you sew a pocket join like this, you end up with the sort of the lining being right up to the edge of the seam of the main fabric, and if it's a different colour you can end up seeing the lining quite obviously when you're wearing the dress. But because of the way that the seam goes sort of down here and across here, the line of the dress is going to be down here, so I have a good sort of 5/8 of an inch of the main fabric inside the pocket, so sort of blocking that lining from being shown. You can see here, so that is actually inside the pocket. So when I eventually finish it and press it, the pocket will be like that, and you have this like extra bit of safety of the main fabric before you see the lining, which I think just gives it that really nice, neat look. I've just switched from a foot pedal to a machine from the start-stop button. In lots of ways, it's much easier. But in others, like when I'm trying to go around pins and pivot and stuff, I think it's a bit more tricky. At least I'm not really used to it yet. Having to reach up and look for the right button. I should be able to see that at the corner of my eye, but having to look up and find the right button and press it is just not as quick as taking my foot off the pedal. And sometimes I accidentally press like the back stitch button or the cut button or something instead. So yeah, if you see me going a bit slower and stopping all the time, it's because of that. But I think there is a pedal I can attach. I think I'm gonna do that. What kind of machine do you have? This is new to me, so maybe it's just me getting used to it, but there's something that feels really intuitive about using my foot pedal. You know, I've been doing it since I can remember, so this this feels like an extra step or an extra thing I've got to look for. Although I think I sit more comfortably at my machine now, but like when it comes to taking a pin out the way, I just don't trust myself to, while this machine's going that fast, to be guiding around a complicated shape and take the pin out and not sew over my finger. Done that before, it's unpleasant. I'm pretty happy with this pocket join. Look at that. I don't know if I have any specific tips for you other than constantly checking if it's lined up, pinning it, and hoping for the best. I often actually just do stuff by feel. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. I think that makes it look really neat. I'm quite glad I went for a contrast lining actually. This hemp linen feels so natural, and I think it's going to be really breathable and also cozy against the skin. So yeah, I didn't really attempt to pattern match. The print is kind of chaotic and as you can tell, despite being cut sort of on the grain, it's not completely, you know, in a line. All these little saplings, they look like they're in sort of concentric lines, but they're not. So while I matched one, the ones above wouldn't be. So I've just decided there's so much going on here, it doesn't matter about pattern matching. And now I just need to gather the waistband and attach to the bodice, and then I think it's just hemming and tidying up and good to go. I'm going to be doing some gathering for a while, I reckon. So I've sewn my 2 stitches, 2 rows of stitches, and now I am going to grab my ends. I always find it's easier to grab the bobbin side rather than the top. I just think it pulls easier. I can separate it out from the top stitch thread. Bear with. So yeah, I'm going to pull the bobbin side. Yes, good. And try and distribute them evenly, which can be easier said than done when there's loads of material together. And I just keep going. So that's one part of the skirt done, and I'm just going to keep going round the rest. I've roughly gathered it, and now I'm going to hold it up against my bodice and distribute the gathers evenly. The bodice is pinned to skirt. I'm about to stitch it together. I just pinned it all. I should have checked the instructions, and then luckily I checked before I sewed. The lining is not pinned to the skirt. I think it's because you join this and then you're going to fold over the lining and hand stitch it, slip stitch it down to give a really nice professional inside. Another lovely little detail on the pattern. So I'm nearly finished with my birthday dress. I have sewn it all together. The skirt is attached to the bodice. I just need to try it on and hem it and finish slip stitching the inside of the bodice to the skirt. The slip stitching is a really nice way to finish things. It's another really nice detail on the pattern that Merchant & Mills have made. It sort of invisibly hides the seam. And I like a bit of hand sewing. I think I often do fast things with sewing, you know, you're whizzing away on the machine. But what I like about natural dyeing and knitting and hand sewing is it forces you to slow down and sort of savour the process. There's no way you can just quickly bash this out in a few minutes if you're going to do it properly. So yeah, I've got my bits with me, I've got my thread and my snips and my needle, and I am going to do a bit of hand stitching this afternoon, and then I'm going to try my dress on and hem it, and I'll show you what it looks like because it's so nearly done. I'm going to do a little video on slip stitching as well. I won't go through it all here, not that there's loads to it, but I'm trying to do more hand stitching for the reasons I've said really. It's pretty basic, but I hadn't done it for years. I think it's something like hand sewing techniques is something you learn when you're younger, and I've been so reliant on my machine I haven't really used it that much, so I had to remind myself. So I just thought I'd share what I'd learned and show you what my slip stitch looks like in more detail, so watch out for that coming up. But for now I am going to keep going. I've done one half of the front bodice and I've got the back, done a little bit of the back, I've got the back and the other front half to go, but it's looking really good. I'll show you when I'm finished as well some close-up details like the guts because they're super pretty. So lovely.